Hey, this is Al McKay. Welcome to episode 114. We're 2 weeks out from Christmas, 2 weeks left in the month to make this your best year yet. This episode is all about how to set yourself up, put all the things in motion so that way you can get more money, more success, be able to move forward in your career next year by doing all the actions now, by front loading all of that. So put in the work now. This is going to be a really cool episode. Before I get into that, just to mention the free training that I put out, all of that has finished. Unfortunately, if you're just finding out about it now, you missed out, but there was an awesome month of training that I had done, which we had shot and done a lot of really cool stuff around, and that is finished, as well as the registration for the live action series is completed now as well. What else do I have to quickly mention? I've got a book written around this, a guide, which you can access, which has all of the information plus more that we share throughout these episodes. If you want to check out the guide for making this your best year yet, go to alanmckay.com/114 and you'll be able to check out the show notes, quotes, links, anything else that gets discussed in this episode there. That's it for now. Let's dive into this episode.
Welcome to the Alan McKay Podcast. Alan is an Emmy Award-winning visual effects artist and mentor to many leading industry experts. Listen in as Alan talks with other industry leaders in film, video games, and visual effects about their experience, lessons, and methodology. Alan will teach you pivotal advice to fast-track your career, better your skills, and reach your ultimate dream job. Check out the latest episodes on alanmckay.com.
So one of the big things that a lot of us think is like, hey, next year, like one of my big goals, I want to get more money. Okay, and that's totally fair to look at it that way. One thing I will just mention, and this is something I've talked about a little bit before, but if you have a full-time job, it's a lot harder to get those pay rises than it is for freelance. With freelance, it's really dead simple to be able to kind of step up your rates and get a lot more money. Whereas with pay rises, you're kind of capped in terms of how much is typically expected to be rewarded to you every year, if that's the case. So I think that this is a perfect opportunity now, like, whether it's December, whether this is freaking March or whenever, it doesn't really matter. But I think that, December is the perfect time to kind of take the initiative instead of waiting another year to just put things into your own hands. And I think it's really simple to just go to your boss and say, hey, if you have a minute, can we chat? And to say, one of the big things that I wanted to quickly talk to you about is that it's coming to the end of the year, and one of my big goals is next year I want to really invest myself more into the studio and make myself more of a valuable asset wherever I can. My ultimate goal is that I want to supervise down the line, and I'd love to chat to you if you have 5 minutes, 10 minutes later this week. We could just sit down really quick. I just want to talk to you about my performance this year and where I could do better. And more importantly, what are the areas I need to focus on so that way I can contribute more to the team and be a more valuable asset. So the whole point is, all you're basically doing is saying, look, do you have a spare 5 or 10 minutes to tell me how to do my job better? Because I'm all ears. I'm ready to go all in and do whatever I can to make myself more valuable. Like, who the hell would not want to sit down and have that quick chat? If anyone came to me and said, hey, Alan, can you tell me how I can be more valuable to you? Can you tell me what I need to do more of and what to do less of? Hell yeah, I am all in for that. If someone came to me and did that, I would happily sit down and say, hey, can you go and learn to do lighting so that way you can make your shots look better and I don't need to throw all of your assets to the lighting department to make them look pretty. This is something you can take care of. Or how about you learn compositing so you can finish shots? Whatever it might be, what are the little things? I noticed that you're doing too much of this and too little of this. How about you switch it around? Whatever. Because all that's happening is you're becoming way more valuable. I'm able to get more out of you. So hell yeah, of course I want that. And of course, I'm going to encourage that. So whole point is, you're just going to them saying, I want to be more valuable to you. Do you have 10 minutes to tell me what you want me to do so I can go do it? And simply going and having that meeting, sitting down and saying, hey, I know it's the end of the year. My big goal is next year I want to step up and do a lot more. My ultimate goal is I'd love, and I mentioned supervising is that goal, but like whatever it could be, but I'm just using that as an example. My goal is that I eventually want to be a lead or a supervisor. And obviously I'm not asking you to make me that. I'm still a while away from that, but I definitely want to start taking steps in the right direction. So what I would really what I would really value, not valuable, is if you could just tell me what are the areas that I need to improve, and more importantly, what are the steps you think I need to take to really kind of step more into that role. Okay, and the key thing about this is that when you're chatting to someone about this, like, it blows my mind that people go to reviews and they're kind of just going, They're just waiting to kind of see how much of a pay rise they're going to get that year or whatever. And, like, this is a chance for you to sit down and get literally a roadmap painted of what you need to do to get more money and get all the things that you want. Okay. And all you got to do then is go do it. It's the easiest thing on the planet. So it blows my mind when people struggle with this. If you're to sit down with your boss and your boss says, hey, Alan, if you could learn a little bit more about scripting, that'd be one thing. So you start to like build tools and automate things. That's something that I feel like our department needs, and that would make you extremely valuable. At the same time, one thing I find is that you tend to just kind of have your headphones on and you don't really chat to anyone else. I would really love if you wanted to get more into a lead role, that this is your chance to show that leadership, show that initiative by sharing some of the stuff that because obviously there's certain areas that you're able to contribute a lot. If you're able to share that knowledge with other people and really help them step up in those areas, because some of the juniors are struggling a little bit, if you could put in some time there, that again is something that I would find really valuable. At the same time, I notice you're always coming late for work, and that's something that doesn't go unnoticed, so you should go fix that. Whatever bullshit is going to come up. The whole point is that you're literally being told, do more of this, do less of this, and then you're going to be golden. It's the simplest thing in the world. But at that point, and this is something that I have talked about this before, and it's because I've got some magical, wonderful friends of mine who, I chat to all the time and say, hey, what are you up to? It's like, oh, I'm looking for a job. Oh, no way, you're going to quit your job? No, I want a pay rise. And it takes me a second to be like, oh man, wow, okay, you're that guy. Okay, so, and basically what it is some people think that their way of getting a pay rise is basically to go get a job offer, then go into their office and make a threat. Hey, these people are offering me more money. You need to match it or I'm out. And they think that that is going to magically get them the money that they want. And no one is dumb enough for that to happen. If they do, they deserve it to happen, because all it's doing is it's rewarding negative behavior. All you're going to do is say, hey, give me more money or I'm going to quit. And if they give you more money, you're just going to go back 6 months later and be like, hey, give me more money again or I'm going to quit. And it's not going to work. And the worst thing is for you, if you get a no, then you got to quit. And then, you got to restart all over again. And each time you're burning one bridge, you're starting from scratch, you got to reestablish yourself and do all this stuff. There's nothing good that comes from that. Whereas simply going in and saying, hey, I love my job, and what can I do to become more valuable to you? That is something that is going to make people be like, wow, this person is showing the initiative. I want to reward this. It's such dead simple stuff. For you to go in and say, hey, tell me what I need to do, and they list everything out to you. Hey, if you could do more of this, less of this, it's very simple at that point to say, okay, this sounds great, and repeat back to them exactly what they just said. I think that sounds really great, so I would love to spend more time focusing on learning the script, as well as obviously I'm going to start coming a little earlier and then showing my incentive there. But more importantly, you're right, I do want to help everyone else and show that leadership by making sure that the rest of the team isn't struggling and I'm able to contribute there. I definitely want to help out the juniors. I can do all of that, and I definitely will make that my highest priority over the coming months. One thing I would ask is if we could schedule another review, let's say 3 months from now. So let's say end of February. Do you think it's fair that if I was able to do all the things that you just mentioned and blow you away with showing hard work, but more importantly, focusing on learning scripting, focusing on more leadership, focusing on all these other things, that we could discuss me getting some FaceTime with some of the other supervisors, getting to sit in a few meetings, really basic stuff, but just allowing me to get more invested in bettering myself and becoming more of a valuable asset to the team. I mentioned I want to have more of a leadership role, and I would really like to work more towards that. So if you think it's fair, I want to work really hard and prove it to you. And in return, I would love if we could discuss those things if I meet all the requirements that you just laid out to me. I think that's a no-brainer. You can't really say no to that. If you go and do everything I just told you to do that's going to make you more valuable, then can I give you more responsibility to go and make yourself even more valuable to me. I think that's like the perfect thing. Any boss, any supervisor, any manager is going to be like, hell yeah, I'm down for that. So the whole point is though, like all you're doing is you're saying, tell me what to do, and then you go do it. Okay, really, really simple. But here's the thing. Obviously, in the 3 months that you've got, all of December, all of January, all of February, crush it. Put in the work. You should be doing that anyway. Okay, you shouldn't be dicking around and not getting work done. And more importantly, you've just been told what you need to do less of. Okay, if you are messing around, do less of those things and do more of the things you were told. It's a recipe for you to succeed. But the best thing is to document it all. In other words, every single time you're doing really well and someone says like, wow, thank you so much for helping me out. You really saved my ass on this project. You can always just jokingly say like, oh, no problem, happy to help. But do me a favor if you want, shoot an email to the boss, let him know that I did this because I'm definitely trying to make a good impression at the moment. It would mean the world to me. At the same time, document everything you're doing. If someone is passing you in the hallway and you mention that you helped them, say the next time you see the boss in the hallway, feel free to mention to him because again, that would mean so much to me. I'm trying really hard here. People are always going to be batting for you when you're showing that initiative, going out and helping them. But more importantly, like I said, document it yourself because when you go in and all they've been hearing is great things about all the stuff you've been doing. And on top of that, you can say, hey, I know we discussed that if I did more of this, this, and this, that I would get more face time after February with supervisors and maybe get to sit in some meetings and just get more groomed towards a supervisory position down the line. I know that I've been doing more in this, and this, helping out more here. I know after speaking to this person, that I was able to really save their butt on this project and I did all this stuff over here. What are your thoughts on all of this? Like, do you think that I've met all the requirements that you set out for me? Do you think that I did list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things? Of course, they can't say no at that point. They're like, yeah, you did everything that I said it to go do. You're in a position where then you can say, well, great. Well, do you think it's fair that because I did everything that you mentioned and what we discussed was that in return, I would get more experience in these other areas? Do you think it's something that now we could talk about starting to get more experience doing those things early next month? I'd love to continue working hard and improving on myself as much as I can and being as valuable as I can to you and everyone else in the team. So if we can talk about that in the next couple of weeks, I'd like to keep moving forward and trying to keep making improvement. It sounds really vanilla, but that's just it. Like all you're doing is you're doing this simple relay where you basically say, tell me what I need to do, go and do it. And if I do exactly what you asked me to do, then can I get this result? And at that point of them saying, yes, that sounds great, say, excellent. And if that works out well, can we schedule another chat just for like 8 weeks from now? Because again, I want to make sure that as I take on more responsibility, I keep doing more of this, I can get more guidance in what are the areas I need to focus on. Like I said, I want to do the best that I can. All you're doing is you're ping-ponging back and forth. Tell me what to do, go do it, and give them a contingency of if I do it, will I get more of this? And as you do that, the next time around, it's like, well, if I do this job and I do it successfully, can I officially start doing that role? In other words, can you start paying me a supervisor role, a supervisor position? Bit by bit, all you're doing is you're inching your way down the track. And on top of that, you're setting that spotlight on yourself, because if you're doing all this hard work, people are going to be like, hey, great job, you're doing really awesome. But you've actually gone and kind of negotiated your way into saying, hey, I want you to acknowledge right now what I need to do. So I go and do it. And there's a contingency set up where as soon as I start doing that, we've already negotiated what the result will be. Rather than them saying, hey, you're doing really awesome, keep up the great work. You get to instead say, I know I am, and we talked about this, so it's time for you to do your part. Okay? So, like I said, really simple concept. It's so simple, but it's how it should be done. It's how I'm surprised that so many people manage to goof off and really neglect to pay attention to this. And again, like I've had other colleagues of mine who they're like, man, like, I need to get more money. I need more money right now. It's like, well, why don't you just go and ask for more responsibility? Obviously, if you go to your boss and say, hey, I want to work my way into being a lead. Can you start to groom me and give me more experience in these areas and tell me what I need to learn? You're setting yourself down that path. And as soon as you become a lead, obviously you're going to get paid to be a lead. The money comes as a no-brainer with it. So rather than being so fixated on, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to get more money or whatever it is, start thinking bigger than that. Think more strategic. If I get more experience in this one area, makes me more of a valuable asset. This makes me irreplaceable to the team. What can I do to position myself in a way that the money will come with the title? The money will come with the responsibility, with every improvement, every shift. And by putting a deadline on it, by saying, hey, let's chat on this date. Like, can we have another meeting so we can review how I'm doing? Because I want to make sure that I am heading down the right path. You're positioning yourself for another review over and over and over. I know people who actually negotiate that in their job interview. They'll take a slightly smaller salary with more contingencies. And this is a really powerful thing to do because you can say, hey, I want 70 grand. And they're like, well, we're only offering you 60. Okay, no problem. I'll take the 60 grand, but only on the contingency that I can have a review every 3 months just to see how my performance is doing and where I can improve. And obviously, if I am meeting all those requirements, then I want to be able to make that 70K that we negotiated, but only if I actually meet all those requirements that you set out for me. So to most people, that sounds like free money. It's like, yeah, sure, take the 10K less money, and sure, if you magically grow all these extra skills and kick ass in every single area, then we'll pay you that extra little bit of money. Yeah, no problem, because to them it's a risk-free transaction. But what you're doing is you're negotiating away and training them to constantly do those 3 monthly performance reviews and get that growth. So I've seen people do that where they're actually getting a 20K a year pay rise because they keep negotiating 5K every 3 months. Other times I've seen people negotiate, well, I'll take the 10K less or whatever, but in return, I want to be able to have lunch once a month with the CEO, or I want to have lunch once a month with the senior visual effects supervisor at the company, or whatever. Because to them, it's like, oh, well, wow, like we're saving 10 grand and he has to have a 30-minute lunch once a month. That's not a big deal. But what you're doing is you're getting that face time with that very valuable person in the company. And of course, over time, they're going to really invest in you and share a lot of, top tier information that typically isn't going to be, shared with other people. So bit by bit, you're getting more and more face time with the really valuable people, and you'll get slowly included more and more in certain things. There's nothing but great things that could come from having that face time with someone much higher in the company. So there's all these things you can leverage, and I've got an episode, I'll have to track it down, but it was something like negotiating creatively, I think, something like that, where I talked a lot more in depth about all of those subjects. But the point is that you got to start thinking long term, and just doing better work is one thing, but negotiating the spotlight to be on you and putting contingencies as well as time constraints in place for what you're doing, that's how you're able to ensure that you gain that maximum growth every 3 months as you move through it. And I mentioned before about as a freelancer, it's a lot easier to get a pay rise because all you need to do in that case, in case it's not obvious, is change your rates. If you're earning $40 an hour, it's very easy within 6 months to go up to $60 an hour. All you need to do is each time you do a job, go to the next client and say, hey, yeah, my rate is $45 an hour, not 40. And that way they're going to come back and say, okay, great. And then if you're doing repeat work with one of your clients and they're like, well, last time we hired you was $40 an hour, now it's $50 an hour, like what the hell's going on there? Or $45 an hour, whatever. You can easily just change your rate. Instead of asking for $5 more an hour, ask for $10 more an hour. But instead say, since the last time I worked here, I've started charging $50 an hour and everyone's been agreeing to that. However, I want to keep a healthy relationship with you guys. I love working with you guys. So how about instead we'll make it $45 an hour instead of 40? So in other words, you just negotiate to the target amount that you wanted, but by positioning it as a much higher rate, that you would typically request. So the whole point is that you're able to call your own shots, and of course, the the best way to figure out like how much you can get and that you're not leaving money on the table is just keep asking for more money. And eventually people are going to be like, all right, that's a bit high. Can you do us a solid and work for a little bit cheaper this time around, whatever. And that's where you're going to figure out like where your limit is, like what you should be charging. So, don't ever be afraid. Like the whole key thing about negotiating is that the negotiating part happens when they first say no. So in other words, you're not negotiating until you get a no. So make sure you keep raising your prices until you get to that resistance point. And that's the point that okay, well, this right now is where I'm at. And then you can start looking at, well, how do I raise it up more? What do I got to do? So, cut a new reel every 6 months and aggressively try and, ramp up your image, ramp up your experience, ramp up your skill sets, all those things. But more importantly, advertise that. Each time you come around to a studio again, say, hey, I've been working really hard learning these new tools and getting a lot more experience in these areas. I'm now starting to charge a little bit more. This is typically what I charge, and that's because I'm now stepping into these other areas and doing a lot more stuff. But that's an advantage to you because now you're getting someone with a lot more experience in these other areas to bring value to your projects. Whatever bullshit you want to spin. But the point is, to keep aggressively pushing until you get to that resistance point. That's the real money you should have been charging in the very beginning. So I'll leave it there. It's definitely a bigger subject, but with all this stuff, like I said, it's just more about getting them to tell you what to do and then go and do it. But then, like I said, setting up all the contingencies, because that's the critical part to getting the growth. Without that, you're just going to get a pat on the back. Great job. You're really showing incentive. You don't want that. You want the money, okay? And the money comes with the territory. So focus on just getting the territory. Focus on the growth with that contingency, with the time constraints, with all that stuff. The spotlight on you. So that way you can grow, and it's in the agreement that if you grow, you get X in return, and keep aggressively pushing that. Okay, I hope you found that valuable. Like I said, if you want to check out the show notes, go to alanmckay.com/114. Finally, do me a favor, leave a review on iTunes. It would mean the world to me. It would be an early Christmas present to me. But more importantly, it shows that you are finding these episodes valuable and you want me to do more of them. Okay, so if you do that, it would be really important. It helps with obviously ranking as well as just more showing that you are interested. And if that's the case, then I will continue to put out 3 episodes per month and theme them all, so that way we can continue to grow and have that growth every single month. On top of that, there's definitely more I want to do. I want to start putting out videos as well as guides and everything else around these subjects too. And I'd love to build a community around what we're doing, so that way we can go through it together. We can share a lot of insights, have accountability partners, all of these things. But you tell me whether or not you find these valuable. And if you do, then I'll do more of it. We got a whole entire year. That is 12 months or 156 episodes that we could be doing and going through all this together. So leave a review on iTunes. You can get a link to that if you go to the show notes, alanmckay.com/114. I'll be back next episode, and we'll be tackling some new subjects next week, including mastering new skills and making the most of that, as well as building your social capital and so much more. Rock on.